What if everything you thought you knew about masculine identity was just a container, not the water itself? Aura isn't rigid, it's fluid, shaped by circumstance like water in a container. The Alpha's command, Sigma's adaptability, Zeta's defiance. These aren't identities, they're tools. Stoicism sharpens your choice, which energy serves the moment. We will decode each archetype with a lens of stoicism and practical psychology. I will try to predict their future and their stance alongside the whole of humanity. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the video. Chapter 1. The Stone Face. Have you ever looked at a man and felt you understood the weight he carries? The invisible script he follows. It's etched deep, this idea of what a man is. For generations, we carved these roles from the bedrock of necessity. The Alpha, the undeniable center, the leader whose word was law forged in action and unyielding presence. His shadow, the Prime, pulsed with a darker, sharper edge, pure, unchecked dominance. Then there's the Sigma, the lone wolf, who moves at the edge of the firelight, independent, watching, adapting. His own shadow, the Zeta, grinds that independence into rigidity, patience thinning into a brittle edge. We built societies around these figures, and others, the loyal Beta, eager to please, the spiritual Omega and Lambda, seeking meaning beyond the fray, the Delta and Gamma, retreating into shyness, perceived as lost. But the ground beneath these stone-carved faces began to crack long ago. Remember what happened in the Industrial Revolution. The Alpha's power, rooted in physical command and direct control, met its first great challenger. Suddenly, machines possessed the steel muscles that once defined his value. Factories didn't need his raw strength alone. They demanded intricate coordination, the quiet logic of the engineer, the adaptability of the line worker. The very notion of dominance started to bleed, where once an Alpha commanded a field of laborers through sheer presence. Now the value shifted towards the man who understood the loom, who could troubleshoot the steam engine, who possessed not brute force, but technical fluency. This was the first tremor. The world stopped rewarding pure, unyielding control, whispering faintly at first, then louder. Adapt, think, understand the machine. The Alpha, built for a world of direct confrontation and visible hierarchy, found his foundation softening. The Beta's loyalty found new outlets in burgeoning bureaucracies. But the Sigmas, they observed. They didn't fight the machine. They learned its rhythm. Their independence wasn't rebellion against the new order, but a natural state within. They moved through the disruption, not against it. The Gammas and Deltas, often overwhelmed, they risked retreating further, their shyness hardening into isolation as the world demanded more engagement, not less. This was merely the prelude. The erosion of the old dominance wasn't complete. The Alpha archetype, though, bruised, persisted in boardrooms and battlefields, clinging to modified forms of command. But the lesson was etched by fire and steam. The world rewards not the immovable object, but the adaptable force. Technology didn't just change how we worked. It began changing what it meant to be a man of worth. Providing wasn't just about hauling. Protecting wasn't just about standing guard. Psychologists like Sigmund Freud and later Erik Erikson noted that modern male identity often hinged on achievement, competence, and productivity, traits that found new expression in industrial and bureaucratic settings. As men adapted to machine-centered work, masculinity became more tied to mental endurance, problem-solving, and responsibility. However, with the rise of automation and digital convenience in the late 20th and early 21st centuries, many of these cognitive demands have been offloaded to technology. Behavioral psychologist B.F. Skinner warned that over-reliance on automated systems could dull human initiative, while modern studies, such as those by Sherry Turkle and Nicholas Carr, suggest that automation and screen-based life may reduce attention span, motivation, and a sense of purpose. Automation not only threatens traditional masculine roles, but also fosters passivity, dependency, and psychological dislocation. Chapter 2: When Giants Fall. Recent ongoing studies suggests when we lean on AI too much to make decisions, to key parts of our brain, the front area that helps us think and plan, called the prefrontal cortex, and the part that helps us store memories, called the hippocampus, start to get less active. In addition, if we let AI handle remembering things for us, our own memory center doesn't work as hard when we're trying to solidify or lock in memories. Over time, this can make it harder for us to think things through on our own and to remember important details. Do you remember the last time you felt the ground shift beneath, something you thought was permanent? What even is a human mind, except some hormones? History teaches us that every empire built on muscle eventually crumbles when the world demands brains. The Industrial Revolution didn't just change how we work, it rewrote the entire hierarchy of human value. Picture the alpha of 1850s. Broad shoulders, commanding voice, able to swing a hammer for 12 hours straight. He owned the factory floor through sheer physical dominance. Workers feared him, bosses respected him, and society rewarded him. But then came the machines. Steam engines didn't care about his intimidating stare. Assembly lines made his individual strength irrelevant. Suddenly, the quiet engineer designing the systems became more valuable than the loud foreman yelling. The alpha's foundation, built on physical supremacy, began to crack. Today, the alpha is dead. The prime is a myth. Stories of gods, perhaps. What we call alpha behavior now is just performance. Desperate theater in boardrooms, where real decisions get made by algorithms. Even when an alpha manages to claw his way to the top, he's immediately suppressed by systems he doesn't understand, regulations he can't intimidate, and technologies that make his dominance look primitive. The beta survived because he was too insignificant to kill. His people-pleasing nature aligned with collaborative workplaces, but that's a temporary reprieve. He's like a houseplant that thrives indoors, only because the real wilderness is kept at bay. The Sigma watched this transition with characteristic detachment. While alphas fought to maintain relevance through louder dominance, Sigmas quietly adapted. They learned the new systems, understood the technology, and positioned themselves as valuable without needing to be visible. Alpha ruled for 2,000 years. Now, it's Sigma's turn. Here's what I see coming. AI will take over every single male role. Every single. Provider, protector, decision maker, problem solver. The line between male and female will blur until it disappears entirely. We'll become like pets, each with our own bot that works, earns, and feeds us while we just live. Not a miserable life, perhaps, but a fundamentally different one where traditional masculine purpose becomes as obsolete as the village blacksmith, maybe even like the Eden we heard about. Chapter 3: The Silicon Apocalypse. When did you first realize that a machine could do your job better than you? The AI revolution isn't coming, it's here. And it's not politely knocking at the door like previous disruptions. It's kicking down the walls of every assumption we've held about human value, masculine purpose, and what it means to be necessary. Consider what made a man valuable just 20 years ago: his ability to analyze, decide, and execute. The alpha commanded through decisive action. The sigma thrived through strategic thinking. Even the beta found worth in following complex instructions reliably. All of these capabilities are now available in a smartphone app. ChatGPT can analyze faster than any sigma. Trading algorithms make better financial decisions than veteran executives. AI can write, code, design, and even create art that moves people to tears. The cognitive superiority that replaced physical dominance is itself being replaced by silicon superiority. What's particularly brutal is how AI targets the archetypes that adapted best to the last transition. The intellectual sigma who learned to thrive in the knowledge economy. His analytical edge is evaporating. The collaborative beta who found his niche in team-based work. Teams are shrinking as AI handles more tasks independently. Meanwhile, The archetypes that seemed most obsolete might have the strangest advantage. The Omega and Lambda, who retreated into spiritual and philosophical realms, may be exploring the only territories AI can't fully colonize, at least not yet. But here's the deeper truth. We're not just losing jobs, we're losing the very foundation of masculine identity. For millennia, men defined themselves through their ability to provide and protect. When AI handles the providing and robots do the protecting, what's left? The Delta and Gamma, already struggling with purpose, face complete psychological collapse as their last hopes for relevance disappear. Even their video games are being played better by AI now. This isn't creative destruction, it's existential dissolution. The question isn't whether you can compete with artificial intelligence, it's whether you can find meaning in a world where competition itself becomes meaningless. Chapter 4. The Resistance. Have you noticed how some people fight change even when it's already won? Watch a dying alpha try to reassert dominance in a world that no longer recognizes his authority. It's like watching someone yell at the ocean to stop the tide. The harder he pushes, the more irrelevant he becomes. The Gamma joins this resistance, but from a different angle. Where the Alpha fights with delusion, the Gamma fights with resentment. He's convinced the world owes him something it never promised. He sees AI advancement as a personal attack rather than inevitable progress. His resistance isn't noble, it's bitter. Research from MIT's 2023 study on automation anxiety shows that individuals with rigid cognitive patterns experience 40% more stress during technological transitions. They literally cannot rewire their thinking fast enough to keep pace. Their mental inflexibility becomes a psychological prison. But here's where it gets interesting. The beta's people-pleasing nature, usually seen as weakness, becomes a strange advantage. He doesn't resist change, he just adapts to whoever's in charge. When that becomes an AI system, he transitions more smoothly than those fighting for dominance that no longer exists. The Zeta presents a fascinating case. His independence could be an asset, but his rigidity makes him almost as stuck as the dying Alpha. He wants to adapt on his own terms, but evolution doesn't negotiate. You adapt to the new reality, or the new reality adapts around you. This resistance isn't just futile, it's self-destructive. Like trying to stop a river by standing in its path, these archetypes are choosing drowning over swimming, not preserving anything meaningful. They're just prolonging their own obsolescence. Chapter 5. The Survivors. What if the traits everyone mocked turned out to be evolutionary advantages? While the rigid archetypes crash against the rocks of change, something remarkable happens with those who learned to bend. The Sigma doesn't just survive the AI revolution, he thrives in it, but not for the reasons you might expect. You see, the Sigma's greatest strength was never his intelligence or independence alone. It was his ability to observe without ego. When ChatGPT outperforms his analysis, he doesn't take it personally. He integrates it. When AI handles tasks he used to do, he finds new territories to explore. This mirrors what evolutionary biologist David Sloan Wilson calls adaptive flexibility, the ability to change behavioral strategies based on environmental feedback. The Sigma possesses this in abundance, while the Alpha lacks it entirely. Lambda presents an unexpected case study. His spiritual focus, once dismissed as escapism, becomes surprisingly relevant. As AI handles material concerns, humans gravitate toward meaning-making and transcendence. The Lambda was preparing for this world while everyone else was fighting the last war. Even the Omega finds strange advantages. His withdrawal from traditional competition positioned him outside systems that are now collapsing. He's like someone who never learned to ride a horse when everyone else is panicking about cars. But here's the brutal truth about survival. Not about being the strongest or smartest anymore. It's about being the most psychologically flexible. The archetypes that tied their identity to specific roles or capabilities are struggling. Those who maintain fluid self-concepts are adapting. The Zeta could join this group, but his rigidity holds him back. He has the independence to chart his own course, but lacks the flexibility to change direction when needed. It's like having a compass that only points to magnetic north, in a world where true north keeps shifting. Chapter 6. The Crack in the Perfect World. Does the taste of perfect comfort ever turn to ash in your mouth? That's the Zeta's curse. While the Sigma observes the AI Eden with detached curiosity, adapting its purpose to exploration, and Lambda seeks meaning in its quiet depths, the Zeta feels the cage, the frictionless ease. It's an insult, the seamless provision, a velvet leash. Revolt isn't just possible for the Zeta, it's inevitable. It's coded into their rigid core. Remember the Zeta's roots, born from the Sigma's shadow, but twisted, less patient, more brittle. Fiercely independent, but that independence curdled into a need for resistance itself. Where the Sigma adapts to flow with new currents, the Zeta defines itself against them. The artificial Eden, eliminating struggle and traditional purpose, is the ultimate current to rage against. Being kept, being a pet. For the Zeta, this isn't comfort, it's emasculation on a cosmic scale. The Prime's aggression is gone, but the Zeta's simmering defiance remains, finding no worthy target. Until now. So how does the Zeta revolt? Not with swords against servers, that's futile. Their rebellion is performance art in the void, sabotaging comfort, deliberately inducing friction, rejecting AI-curated conveniences, embracing archaic, difficult tasks, creating unnecessary conflict in perfectly managed systems. See, I choose struggle. Cult of the real, romanticizing pain, danger, the authentic messiness of pre-AI life, even its suffering. They become digital Luddites, rejecting augmentation, seeking raw, unfiltered, inefficient experience. Yet here's where the Lambda becomes crucial. The Zeta's revolt risks becoming mere destruction without purpose. The Lambda offers something different. The possibility of finding deeper meaning within apparent meaninglessness, not through rejection of the AI Eden, but through transcending the need for traditional struggle entirely. Some Zetas will choose the path of eternal rebellion, becoming digital outcasts fighting systems they can never defeat. Others will listen to Lambda's wisdom, that true freedom might mean accepting paradise while maintaining inner sovereignty. This isn't submission, it's a form of spiritual hedonism, enjoying the garden while remaining psychologically ungoverned. Will they listen to the Lambda? Only if the Lambda's deeper meaning promises intensity, not peace. The Zeta isn't drawn to serene contemplation. If the Lambda offers a path of ecstatic rituals, altered states, or philosophies embracing chaos in the Dionysian, the Zeta might be tempted. But pure hedonism, a trap. It consumes the Zeta's fire without offering lasting purpose, leaving them emptier, more brittle, more enraged. It becomes another system to eventually rebel against. The Brotherhood shatters. This is where the Zeta diverges violently from the Sigma core. The Sigma observes the Zeta's rage with a stoic's calm. This is their chosen friction. They understand the impulse, but see the futility in self-destruction. The Sigma adapts within the new reality. The Zeta defines itself solely against it. They are brothers in origin, enemies in destiny. The Sigma's independence is a tool for navigation. The Zeta's is a battering ram against walls it cannot break. The Zeta sees the Sigma's adaptation as surrender, a betrayal of their shared independent spirit. The Sigma sees the Zeta's revolt as a childish tantrum against the weather. Stoic lens, Epictetus whispers, "We cannot choose our external conditions, only our judgments and actions toward them." The Eden exists. The Zeta judges it as a cage. That judgment fuels their suffering. Their actions revolt. Hedonism are attempts to reclaim agency, but agency rooted only in reaction is fragile. True agency, the Stoic would argue, lies in choosing your response wisely, not just violently. Can the Zeta channel its fierce independence into creating something new within the garden, rather than just smashing its perfect statues? Or is its destiny to be the eternal, angry ghost haunting the machine? The crack in the perfect world isn't a flaw in the society. It's the Zeta, a reminder that the human spirit, especially its shadowed, rigid forms, cannot be seamlessly optimized. Is the revolt noble, or just the last spasm of an obsolete script? Does the Zeta fight for freedom, or merely for the familiar pain of the fight itself? In the silent garden, their snarl echoes. What does it stir within you? Chapter 8. Beyond the Map. What comes after the death of everything you thought defined you? Does the Lambda holds the key to this transition? His spiritual focus wasn't escapism. It was preparation for a world where material concerns become irrelevant. Or the Omega, with his patience. Or the Sigma, with his balance and strategy. When AI handles survival, humans can finally explore what lies beyond survival. This isn't about finding new ways to be needed. It's about discovering what wants to be expressed through you when need itself disappears. The post-archetypal identity is fluid, hybrid, and hyper-optimized, not for dominance or adaptation, but for experience itself. You might be Sigma-like in your independence, Lambda-like in your spiritual curiosity, and something entirely new. The rigid categories that once defined masculine identity become tools you use rather than prisons you inhabit. Some will resist this fluidity. The Gammas will retreat further into resentment at a world that no longer validates their grievances. But resistance is futile when the very ground of identity is shifting. Here's the paradox. AI making human logic, labor, and leadership obsolete isn't emasculating. It's liberating. For the first time in history, masculinity can be about exploration rather than survival, creation rather than competition, becoming rather than being. The Stoics understood that true freedom comes from accepting what we cannot control, while fully engaging with what we can. You cannot control the AI revolution, but you can control your response to it. You can choose to cling to dead archetypes, or evolve into something that has never existed before. The map is gone. The territory is infinite. What you become next is limited only by your willingness to let go of what you thought you had to be. The question isn't who you are anymore. It's who you're becoming. Thanks for watching.